We are starting the next step in our roof project. We have our metal laid out over here. This part is going to get tricky because we're doing valleys and intersections and all these kind of weird things up in the roof that I want to look good. We're going to start by getting the valley flashing down and installing our vapor diffusion port. We are installing a vapor diffusion port. This is fairly new building science that was recently adopted into the southern climates. Not everybody can use this method, but if you live down in the south and you follow certain rules, you can apply it to your home. It's basically a new way of venting a roof. In our bedroom, we have a vaulted ceiling, cathedral ceiling. And since our ceiling is the roof, we need to insulate it very well, and we didn't want to take up insulation room with airspace for a typical air vent. So instead, we opted to do this method. And what it involves is putting the insulation fully in the bay up against the roof sheathing. So leave no airspace. That's important. You can't have airspace. Then we cut a regular vented opening in the roof as if you were doing a ridge cap vent. So that's what we're doing right now, is cutting the roof underlayment out of the way for the roof to vent. We've had it sealed up just to keep the weather out until we got to this project. So with that out of the way, we now have our vent. The next step is to take a vapor permeable membrane, such as house wrap, and cover the opening. We want this opening to be airtight but vapor permeable, which means moisture can escape but air can't. So we do this by laying the house wrap over it and then taping all the edges firmly with flashing tape. I also used some spray foam to seal up the ends where we had some gaps that the tape couldn't seal. So this thing is airtight. We want to prevent air movement, but give a place for water vapor to evaporate. And that's all there is to it. That's a vapor diffusion port. It's basically a sealed ridge vent that moisture can escape through. Now again, this will only really apply to situations like this where you have a insulated roof that you need to vent. Sometimes air venting isn't the best method, and by doing it this way, we got a full R30 in our ceiling without wasting any room. And it's supposed to keep the ceiling dry and let all that moisture escape that goes up to that peak. Most moisture in a roof goes up to the highest point, and that's where it wants to evaporate. So as long as it has a place to go, it'll go there. Now that that's done, we're going to get our valley flashing up. Once the valley flashing is up, we can start with our roof. I hope this wasn't too distracting for you guys. I had Ashley toss down the can of spray foam to me, and it wasn't a good idea. If you guys watched parts 1 and 2 of our roof install, you already know what we're doing. We're pre-drilling the holes in our panels. We're ready to start this second, third roof, whatever number it is. So let me go ahead and get these drilled up. Once the holes are in, we'll start getting them on the roof. This is going to go quickly because we know what we're doing now.
We're experts, right?
Well, yeah. So the roof is not difficult. What's difficult is our insecurities because it's steep and there's no
flat spot.
Yeah, so it's a little bit scary. Ashley doesn't really feel comfortable around the edges especially, and it makes it hard to get this first sheet lined up, and it's going to make each sheet a little more difficult because of this roof. But I just had a brainstorm. We have this bus right here. What if we just back the bus up right along the roof and use it to stand on?
And it's a good,
it's less falling.
Like if somebody did slide off, at least the bus would catch you.
Yeah. I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if this works.
Did you already bring the drill up?
It's, where is the drill? Oh, it's over here on the ground. I'm feeling good about this. We got 3 sheets up, they're going square, everything is going good, but we just had a little bit of a scare because you might have caught it. I don't know how it's going to come out, but I literally fell off the roof. These panels are wet because they've been stacked together for too long. They get the dew, they get the rain between the sheets and it doesn't dry out. And what I did was, I just stepped on a puddle that was on the metal, it's just wet metal. And once I started sliding, I couldn't stop. Luckily.
Yeah.
Thankfully. The bus was there, we prepared, and I was able to have a safe landing. No injuries. I scuffed my, you can see it's red. No injuries, just,
yeah.
That was just the edge of the roof.
So instead of like a 15-foot drop, it was more like 3 feet or something.
3 feet, land on my feet. This was a good idea.
I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
Or else that would have been
That's how
horrible.
quick it happens. It just happens fast.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to tell a story, but Ashley's dad fell off a roof once.
Horrible. It was a really tall garage because it was made for like dump trucks to park in. And he was helping somebody put like the roof sealant on the roof. He slipped and just fell off down onto the pavement, and he got really busted up. When I was like 15, that's when it happened.
Yeah. You step in that roof sealant, you know, like the silver coating you put on roofs, and it's slick, super slick, and there's no stopping. That's basically the same thing here.
He had to get like a rod. It came out of his wrist here. It was like a metal rod exposed to like hold the bone together. He had like other fractures.
So,
he ended up healing.
But not something we want to experience. We're going to be more careful. This is why we were nervous about this side.
Yeah. It's the worst side of
the other
house.
sides have a low slope, and it's basically flat, and if you can't do anything. It's just, you're there.
Yeah.
It's like being on the ground.
The other side has the like 1 in 12 pitch porch roof, and then the other side of the house has the other porch, which is flat also.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad I caught the bus and didn't shimmy down anywhere,
Yeah.
go tumbling off it. And speaking of garage, how do Polish people open their garage?
With garage keys.
Since it's getting late, we're going to try to get one more sheet up, I think.
One.
One
That's
more
it.
sheet. Maybe two.
One.
Okay. That's why I moved that concrete block that was under the roof, because if I was going to fall, I didn't want to land on that.
No. Ugh.
Hold on, hold on.
Yeah.
If it would, like, if it doesn't matter and it doesn't distract from the room. Hold on. So we're good right there?
Yeah.
We're going to be doing our first angle cut, and we're not sure how it's going to go, but we're hoping it goes okay. It's not perfect, but I made it through.
Yeah.
We have our valley flashing installed. Hopefully this goes up smoothly. We got to get some foam strip on here, and then we'll get that panel in place. But check out the progress. Unfortunately, I think our camera cut out at the wrong time, but here's what happened. We followed the instructions, we're following the manufacturer's guidelines, because that's what we have to go by. It didn't make sense to us. And it kept not making sense to us, but we said, that's what it says, let's try it. And we tried it, and it still didn't make sense to me. I said, this isn't right, because the screws were going in kind of next to this foam strip that we put down, and not through the foam strip. And what it's doing is kind of pulling the metal, and there's a void under the metal because of the foam strip. It's hard to explain, but basically, instead of going where the support is, you're going next to it. And I kept thinking, I don't know, this isn't right. So I said, let's look at the book again. And we noticed that the written instructions was different than the visual graphic that they used to demonstrate it. In the graphic, the screws were going through the foam. In the text, it doesn't.
Yeah.
They had the foam an inch up from the bottom, the screws 3 inches up from the bottom.
So we had to unscrew the panel, we had to peel off the foam strip, move the strip over to where the screws would be, put it all back down, and put the screws through the foam.
Yeah, and now it makes a lot more sense. We're going to go ahead and just stick to the drawing detail rather than the text.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty easy fix. Luckily we caught it before it was too late. Sometimes you just got to say, is this making sense? It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we caught that, but no big deal. That's why we were redoing it. That's done. We're ready for our second cut. We're going to try to figure out the angle. Hopefully this one goes smoother now that we know what we're doing.
And this one we're going to do, like, cut it on the ground instead of on the bus.
Yeah, that was kind of a pain.
Yeah.
We just didn't know how to measure our first angle without getting the sheet up there. But I came up with an idea. I'm going to test it out. It's starting to sprinkle. I don't know if this is going to turn into rain, but it is. The roof is wet, so we have to get down. I'm going to bring the ladder around the other side, I think. It's hard to tell, but I think I should get more tarps up there so that we don't get rain in the ridge. We have the house wrap on there. It's not going to go in the house. I just want to try to keep it out from under the metal if I can help it. Otherwise, we're doing okay. Believe it or not, this is still the same day. The rain came, we had to stop working. It actually rained pretty decently, not heavy, but just a good rain for a few minutes.
Not that long.
And it's over with, and now it's dry. I think the roof should be fairly dry by now. So we're going to try to get back into it and get a few more panels done before it's too late.
Hopefully we can finish that one part at least.
That's the goal. This is how we're figuring out our angle cuts. Basically, I cut this piece of wood the exact width of our metal, not the whole sheet of metal, but just, because part of it will overlap this, but from the metal from here over the width of the sheet. So, does that make sense? The metal minus the overlap. I'm using my big speed square against my metal. That gives me a 90 degree, and I set this on here. So this basically lets me see the width of my metal, where the sheet's going to end, and it keeps it square to this roof end, so I can slide it down until I get to my line where my metal is supposed to be. This is my cut line. So once I get the corner at the line, that's as far down as I can go. I just measure down to this piece of wood, wherever it is, and that gets me this measurement. And then I measure down all the way to this sheet, and that gives me the second measurement. And as long as I know that my sheet is starting right here, and we know that because that's where it overlaps, and then we know it's ending there, and I know how far down from the roof that is, I can make my angle. I have my starting point, I have my ending point. We just connect those. I don't know, it makes sense to me. Does this have to have all the sand in it? This piece was the hardest piece we've had to lay so far, but we got it done and it looks good and it's lined up pretty much how I want it. So you saw us put the first piece up. That was a total mess up. My angle was all wrong. Everything was wrong. The width was wrong. Every measurement was pretty much wrong. So we just took that one down, started fresh with a new sheet, and we got it right the second time. I could see where my flaw was, so I was able to use that to correct it. First mistake, I hope it doesn't set us too far behind. Hopefully we have some extra metal at the end, and I don't have to waste that piece. It's looking good. Now that we have the starter piece, the rest of them will be quick and easy. We have a good practice over here, and I know how to line them up now. We're gonna keep going, try to get a couple more pieces on the roof. Well guys, the sun is setting, but we just finished just in time. We got our goals accomplished and finished another section of the roof. This is awesome. I can't believe how good this is coming out and how quick it's coming along. This roof right here went flawlessly. It is so just straight and square and perfect.
Mm-hmm.
This roof, I'm going to be honest, you probably don't see it, but it's crooked and it bothers me. Oh, I wish I got it right. I didn't have my first sheet squared up properly, and it was going at an angle. I didn't see it right away. Basically, with the ridge, it's going down away from the ridge. So with the ridge cap on, the screws are going at an angle. You can really see it.
But it's good enough.
I think we can work with it. It's not going to hurt the functionality of the roof, although my sheets are further from the peak than I wanted, and I want to make sure I can seal those up really well. But other than that, it should be fine. And it looks good. Also, I was really trying hard to keep these V's going into each other so they were even. For some reason, we lost that halfway up the roof here.
But it still looks like they kind of do line up.
And they're off from each other. So here's one and here's the other one, the ribs. You know, I don't know how you start at the same spot and end differently. The roofs are the same pitch, so they should line up. It's okay. It's not super noticeable. And this is the first time we've done anything like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're doing okay. So not only did we finish that, but we also got all of our lap screws in on this whole roof right here behind me and this one. So these are 100%. All that has to be done is gable trim along the side, the ridge cap. The ridge cap is not screwed on. We just have it sitting. And right behind Ashley here slide over, we have to trim this valley flashing. You can see it comes down flat. And it's not in line with the roofing. We were waiting till the roofing was in so that we can cut it flushly with that.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is finished. We saved the hardest part for last on the front.
Yeah.
It's this plus
a porch roof.
a transition that has some really weird intersections. Hopefully we can get that right. But we'll take that when it comes. I think that's all we have for now. Anything else you want to add?
I'm glad we have the bus here that caught your fall.
I did damage the roof when I fell. I noticed a scratch and a dent.
Yep.
I'm glad that nobody got hurt. Yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.
See ya.